What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to the Nintendo Open Air Podcast. It seems mini fever is hitting the world, and everyone wants to jump on the mini console hype train that Nintendo has so carefully created. Commodore 64 is joining the ranks, and possibly a leak of an upcoming official Nintendo console. But we'll see. Before we begin tonight, I want to welcome back our old faithful, Z. It's good to have you back with us tonight, man.
Thank you.
So, mini consoles. Commodore 64. I think everyone has seen pictures and read game lists now. What do you guys think?
I'm not interested at all. I never played the Commodore 64, and I haven't seen any pictures or game lists, but Z said he wanted it.
It's neat and everything, but I don't know. It's like I had a Commodore 64 when I was a kid, and the whole thing with the Commodore 64 is that I will also say I was like 5 when it came out, or when I had it, and all my fond memories, because it was like my first pre-Nintendo console thing. But I mean, everybody would just pirate games like crazy, so you'd have like 500 games or 5,000 games, and you could just play. So it's hard for a collection. I saw the list on the collection, and there wasn't anything that I thought was too amazing. It's cool looking. It's a little keyboard. It's neat, but I mean, I don't think even the Wii Virtual Console had some Commodore 64 games, and I'm sure those didn't sell too well. The games are pretty dated these days. It's probably got a pretty thin market. As cool as much as I want to like it, I think I'm going to pass.
And when I was reading through the titles, and some of them sounded interesting, so I think I would pick up maybe on a Virtual Console release on the Switch, but yeah, not a $70 investment. I don't really have any ties to the Commodore 64 either.
Yeah, I grew up with one, but I don't recognize. I think I recognize 3 things on that list. That's none of the stuff I had. I had a fair amount of stuff, but like, I mean, the only 2 names that I can really even remember were Jumpman and Grid Runner. Neither of which is there.
California Games.
California Games 2 is on there, but not California Games, which is a little weird. I don't know if California Games was on N64. That might have been only Apple II. You know, some of those didn't all make it to the N64, the C64. Exactly. The C64, or the Amiga later, or all those other things. But yeah, no. So it's a weird, like, the Nintendo was a very standardized console, and the other thing that makes like the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic, kind of their own special thing, is the fact that Nintendo was so anal about their quality control, because immediately prior, Atari had let that market explode with shovelware, and that is one of the major factors that had killed the console market, the previous generation's console market. So Nintendo came into the console market with this super anal mindset, which kind of played into their whole company philosophy anyway. They're all super anal anyway. But so they came in with this whole, we are going to have super quality control, the seal of quality, right? And that really plays into when they bust out something like the NES Classic. There's like, well, hell, you could put down most of the catalog and it would be good stuff, at least decent.
Yeah.
Well,
there's this other console too, this Retro-Cade thing that just got announced. That's got a couple Mega Man games and some Capcom games, and it's also trying to hit that $60 price point. But what those things don't have is that with a NES Classic and the Super NES Classic, if you've not played the games, you've heard of most of the games. Like, they're all pretty well established, classic, heavy hitter, top selling, great games.
Yeah, well revered, well respected.
Right.
Yeah, like the top of the line titles for their time. Every one of them on every title on the Nintendo console, because that's always been Nintendo's thing. Whereas every one of these other consoles, especially this C64, to me illustrates the point. In particular, is just like, this could be crap some dude wrote in his garage even 40 years ago.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. A lot of it was.
I mean,
in the first place. Yeah.
it's before these companies really set up shop and had an established thing, you know.
Yeah,
So they're
so
true
just the
indie
idea of,
devs.
oh, go ahead.
They're true indie devs then, huh?
Yeah, they're all homebrews.
They were the original. Yeah, they were the original indie devs when there were no, when it was still just a hobby, and these guys were just hobbyists. So
And some of it was Atari ports too back in the day. Like I remember playing Pitfall and stuff like that on it. And
that's true. That's true. It
know.
did get some of those, none of which, of course, are on this C64.
No.
Mini. But the other thing about it is it ostensibly was presented as a computer, right? Originally, it was a machine for doing computing on, not a machine for games. It just happened to have a cartridge slot, and 99% of the cartridges that were produced were games.
Yeah, or if you were like my family, we had a fast load cartridge that allowed you to load up because it had like a DOS prompt type thing that you'd have to type in to load games, and we just had a floppy disk drive for the big floppies, not these for the actual floppies that were floppy.
The old 5 1/4.
Yeah, not these 3 and whatever hard disks that they still called floppies for some reason.
Well, because the inside disc was made of that thin Mylar material.
Yeah.
We all know that. But no, man, I grew up on the big floppy disks, and I even have somewhere tucked away in the garage or something. I have one of the old school, how big? They were like 9-inch, the giant ass floppy disks, and a drive.
I think I ended up throwing away. We used to have a bunch of these hard cases that just stored like however many hundreds of floppy disks, and you just have them all in their little white sleeves and like little. I think my dad had printed out labels on. We had like a dot matrix printer for the Commodore 64, and he'd print up these fancy labels with the names of all the games on them.
And it was like an old school Rolodex, but instead of cards with information on it, it was software.
And also, it's like with the size of those games, the fact that you could fit like 10 games or maybe more onto one of those discs, and the fact that this thing's coming out with 64 games, which I understand, it's Commodore 64. That's the whole thing, I guess, is 64. But the price is also 64. and I don't know. The whole thing about Commodore 64 is that there was just a ton on it, and that's what was cool about it. I don't think that you can limit that list down to this list does not represent, not my C64 hashtag.
Yeah, exactly. None of the games I had are on that list hardly, except for like one. And it was a hobbyist machine, right? It's like, releasing a 486 Mini. It's like, what's the point of that? It's just a crappy computer at this point.
I mean, I loved that system, but I just don't. It doesn't hold the nostalgic place in my heart that the Nintendo stuff did.
Yeah,
it just seems ridiculous to me that they would make a Commodore 64 Mini and then not even put the greatest games on there. Just put like some games like Z was saying. He hadn't even owned any of those games. I never even heard of any of them except one of them. It's like, come on, at least like put the best ones you can think of on there.
Zork, for God's sakes, the original Zork trilogy, like that was probably one of the games I played the most of on my old Commodore 64, or that whole series of games.
Yeah, and there was a lot of licensed games, and
a lot of the
stuff.
Part. A lot of this stuff is still owned by somebody, and so they would have had to pay licensing fees to put it on this mini C64. Here's the other thing I don't get: it's a mini C64, which means the C64 was a computer built into a keyboard. How mini is this keyboard? Is it even a functional keyboard, or do you have to is it like a little fingerboard? Like how does this work?
Luckily, very little of the games, from what I remember, really utilized the keyboard a whole lot. From what I remember, I could be wrong though.
And
no, that's true.
There's rumored to be a Game Boy Mini in the works, but how would that work too? Like they're gonna this is a smaller version of the Game Boy.
It'll fit on a keychain.
Yeah, exactly. How much smaller can it get? I mean, they already made the Game Boy. Yeah, they already made the Game Boy Micro. That was in the 90s, wasn't it? How long ago the Game Boy Micro came out? What do you remember what year that is? Because that's your Game Boy Mini right there. What? Oh,
that
you're
the
right. No,
Advance?
I forgot. You're right. The Game Boy Micro was an Advance, wasn't it? It wasn't just a
Yeah.
little Game Boy.
Although, I still say if you
It
go back
played
to the
both,
SP
though.
today, if you look at the SP today, open it up, look at the screen, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, this is like a wristwatch."
It's terrible.
Like it seems so small now.
Well,
No.
the backlight and everything too, though. It's
Yeah,
it's a horrible screen. It looked so beautiful back then, though. It was
it
amazing
did.
at the time, and now you look at it and go, God, how did I ever think this looked good?
At the time, it's like Nintendo's doing things right. They even included a backlight, although not the original Game Boy Advance though, which I
No, but
also
it's
bought.
right. Exactly. It's dude. It goes all the way back, man. It's like when the
I know.
first Game Boy came out. Oh, it's nice, but it's not color. Okay, well, but it had other advantages. It had the long battery life, and it was cheap because it was not color. But then the Game Boy Advance came out, and no backlight. And that was just like, come on, guys. It's like the cartridge slot on the N64
Now I'm getting way
and
off
everything
topic,
else.
but did the original Game Boy Advance have a lithium-ion battery, or was that still working off double
I'm pretty
A's?
sure it was double A's. I'm 99% positive it was 4 double A's, but I could be wrong on that.
How many
Oh, how far
the
we've
Game
come!
Boy? Did the Game Boy take 4 double A's as well?
OG Game Boy took 4 double A's.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did that
I don't know.
last?
It seems like it's not worth it to do a
20
Game
hours.
Boy Classic to me. Like
20
it's
hours?
cheap enough
Wow.
to buy a Game Boy.
And it's
How
just,
much
yeah,
is it for? Oh, an old one?
Yeah, I mean those games sell for like nothing.
and it's when you have something
Okay.
that's a little mini console as a conversation piece that you have tucked under your TV that you can bring out when friends come over, that's one thing. But to
Yeah.
carry something small like that around in your pocket, it's just not the same. Not the same vibe. It's a little bit. Hey,
I
let
would
me
be
show you what
afraid
I
of the
got in my
price point.
pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Because they gotta
Like-
they gotta produce a postage stamp sized, a black and white LCD that's got the right color, right? You know what I mean? It's got to look like an old school LCD from the Game Boy, or it doesn't work. So they have to they have to actually produce one of those special, because like I can't imagine those exist anymore.
So the rumor is probably false then, right?
I'm guessing.
Maybe.
I'm guessing.
I mean, the whole rumor stems from the fact that they renewed their copyright on the term Game Boy, and they had recopyrighted the NES right before the NES Classic. They recopyrighted SNES before the Super NES Classic, and then they also have recopyrighted N64, which led to speculation that they're going to do a 64.
Well, they just don't want to lose their copyright on anything.
Yeah, wasn't it just timing? I mean, isn't it?
It very well could be.
Don't they have to renew the copyright every so often? Like, like there's some. Yeah. And it maybe it's something like Disney, because I know Disney has to release a movie with a particular character in it or something every so often. Otherwise, their copyright.
Well, every movie did. I mean, there was a really horrible Fantastic Four movie that was made sometime in the 90s that was only made because the rights were about to run out. It never got released, although they never told the actors or the people working on the film that. So they just thought they were making this horrible low budget film, but they just made it to the studio made it to maintain the rights. So yeah, I mean, they have to renew the copyrights on stuff.
So does that mean Nintendo has to put out a miniature version, like if they want to keep their copyright on
that would be great, but I don't think so. They probably just had to put out like a T-shirt with a picture of a Game Boy on it or a Game Boy keychain.
Yeah, and in which case the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic would have come out like 8 years apart.
The thing is, especially with the Virtual Console on like the 3DS having Game Boy, like I can't imagine there's going to be as many people that would want one of those, and I think the price point would be really high for what it is.
It's nobody wants another device to carry around, even a nostalgic one, unless it were small enough to fit on a keychain, and then it would be too small to play. But go ahead, Eric.
I heard that they took Tetris for Game Boy off the eShop.
Yeah, it's been gone for a while.
Yeah, that was a while ago. There's I can't remember if it's EA. I think maybe has Tetris's license right now. I can't remember the company, but there was another Tetris game. I think on maybe on 3DS as well. And then they did the Virtual Console one, and then whenever the latest one came out, like right before it came out, the one that's currently, I guess, as available as it can be, they took the original one off the eShop. So I don't know if it was a rights thing or they just didn't want to cannibalize sales or what.
No, you're right. Actually, there was another version of Tetris, like not the DS version. There was some other version of Tetris, I think, that got pulled as well, didn't it? Off the eShop.
I think I have it.
But you can still play the old one, right? If you already had it beforehand.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you already bought it and
3DS?
downloaded it or whatever, like I think I
And you
might have
can
gotten
re-download
it
it
back in the day.
Oh, okay.
I got it because luckily the news website that I like to go to will notify you. Somehow they find out, and they're like, "Hey, Tetris is going to be pulled from the eShop on this day." And I was like, for $4 I'll pick it up. Yeah, Tetris Axis was the first one that I bought. That was from 2011, maybe 2012.
Was that
the news website you go to?
That available as an eShop?
Are you talking about?
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead,
Right.
I'm sorry. I think Tetris Axis, right, was the one that was available as an eShop title and then got pulled, didn't it?
It may have been. I don't know if it was a launch title or it probably wasn't a launch title for 3DS, but it probably came out early in the 3DS.
It was very early. I think it might have been launch.
But I had that, and then there was the eShop one, and then I don't know what the new one's called. Tetris Worlds or whatever it is. But you don't really need that many versions of Tetris going around anyway. I just bought it because I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I only need one version of Tetris per console, and if it just happens to be the same original Game Boy version, that's okay too.
Yeah, they all pretty. And I feel the same way about Dr. Mario.
Yeah, no, Dr. Mario, I have no similar love for. I mean, I don't hate it, but yeah, I don't feel the need to pick it up on every Game Boy that I own, every iteration, like I did.
I do have two versions of Dr. Mario on the 3DS because I bought the DSiWare, and then when they released the actual 3DS eShop title, I bought that, and I've got Dr. Luigi.
You love that puzzle crap, man.
I do, man.
I have Dr. Mario on the Wii U.
Yeah,
Dr. Luigi or which Dr. Mario on the Wii
U? Dr. Mario.
Like the Virtual Console NES one?
NES. Oh, okay.
And I've got Tetris Dr. Mario for Super NES as well on actual hard cartridge.
There was a Tetris on I think it was Wii U or where you could play Tetris with the Wii balance board, but I never tried it though.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah,
Z likes
sounds like
yeah, like I think Z could get into a Switch Tetris if it somehow used the Joy-Con to use motion control.
Well, here's what I am finding kind of stupid is there's touchscreen games, and I think this came back up. I wish I could remember. It's one of the early rhythm games that came out. Was it that Voice one or whatever?
Yeah.
That was a touchscreen only. You couldn't play it on the TV, but
like VOEZ.
You have Joy-Cons. You have pointers. You right, just like the old Wii. You have two fingers. I don't understand what the deal is. Like, why is
that
this
was like
difficult?
a mobile game, wasn't it? It was a mobile game that got ported, so it's just a lazy port, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's incredibly lazy because it would seem I gotta hope that they have just built into the API like an automatic, like that the dev doesn't even have to worry about. There's just an automatic translation on the OS side or whatever that says the finger. That a finger touch will translate into a button press and a point. You know what I mean? The same way it would work on a Wii. We just point at right. I
think you're putting a lot of faith into Nintendo's infrastructure.
No, it's. I mean, that's got to be.
They can't.
If they thought
can't
about
have to like rewrite that every time for every game. That's just it should be like off the shelf that they already.
Exactly. All that stuff should just be built into the API. It's kind of like how some devs just won't bother to do any multiplayer in their Switch version of the game because they have to build it all themselves because it's not Nintendo just doesn't have any of that infrastructure built in yet. But I gotta imagine control scheme stuff, that is so Nintendo's bread and butter. I gotta imagine that all of that stuff is totally built in to the API, and it's just they encourage, right? They push all the devs to use the motion controls and use this. They got to make it as easy as possible for the devs to do it. So I got to imagine that would be a gross oversight if there wasn't some basic, touch screen to, on screen with a Wiimote type of, control translation. That would just be stupid. But you never know. It is Nintendo.
I think, Max, didn't you say you picked up something or were interested in something that was a touchscreen game for Switch recently?
I was wondering why they don't have more touchscreen games.
Oh,
Am I?
probably because of people like me that are all docked all the time.
Probably.
Well, I was saying I can understand why they didn't have touchscreen on Smash for Wii U on the menu. I would just be tapping like multiplayer
Laziness.
battle. Yeah, it's just. But you said it's not even laziness because like it's already built in.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been. I could think of some logistical reasons. Maybe it was just there's a certain amount of overhead automatically required if you're just to enable something as basic as touchscreen controls on the Wii U. Maybe that's why nobody wanted to do it. Maybe it wasn't a thing that was difficult to do. It was just as soon as you do any sort of back and forth between the gamepad and the console, you're immediately engaging all this extra overhead with streaming stuff back and forth that kills how much processing power you have for the game. I don't know. That's kind of an assumption.
As much as it seems like it killed Sakurai to make that game, that thing might have come down to the wire. So it seemed like he was putting a lot of work into it. So maybe when it came, like when one of the guys was testing it, was like, "Hey, how come the touch doesn't work on the menu?" And he's like, "Go screw yourself." Maybe it lost some of the polish, While he's sleeping under his desk at work.
Well,
that's what I always imagine. Like whenever you read stories about them making that game, he was just like, "I don't know if I'll ever make another Smash." Like he seems like a guy that went to war and came back a changed person.
Now Z's explanation sounds more likely, but yours is funnier, Momo.
Thank you. I try.
I know. I prefer Mo's explanation.
He's been noticeably absent lately. I say he's on a much-deserved vacation.
He made him enough money.
Oh, you're talking about Sakurai? I thought you were talking about Momo.
No,
I'm here, baby.
Momo's right here, man.
Sakurai did pop up in an interview or something in the last week or something. I thought he's still around.
Wasn't he the host on the direct, the last direct or whatever?
he was in something. I don't remember what.
I remember Z predicted it. He was like, "It'll probably be like Sakurai," and it was.
No, it was Koizumi.
It was.
Yeah,
it was Koizumi. Yeah.
Koizumi 5000.
He's
still in
I don't remember who is Koizumi. He did Mario, or who's Koizumi? Oh, he did Breath of the Wild.
He did something huge, and I feel like such a non-Nintendo fan for not knowing. I think did he do he might have had something to do with like Ocarina or something like that.
My
One of those small games.
My excuse is lack of sleep from baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. What were we talking about?
Since
I think we've covered many systems. Oh.
I think we have too. But since we're talking about the eShop, that's kind of what we rolled into. I thought I'd let Max tell us about one of the newest eShop games, Stardew Valley, as I think she's the only official player here.
So far.
What do you think so far?
Well, I'm enjoying it. It's a pretty good game. The graphics are cute. They're pixelated and
Standard 8-bit goodness.
Yep. It's nice music.
Is
it a
it
Harvest Moon fan?
Yes, I am.
How does it stack up
Crossing
with
fan,
like that and
of
Animal
course.
Crossing? Yeah.
How would you compare it to those two?
It's very similar to Harvest Moon games. The same, you farm and you have the store and you have to meet other people and you can get married, and have a kid. And
No raccoon breathing down your neck for his money.
no.
Yeah, for rent. Maybe it's I don't know, they get married. It's almost like Harvest Moon meets The Sims.
Well, you can get married in Harvest Moon too.
How's it different
Yeah, I know,
from
that's what
Harvest
I
Moon?
Yeah,
It's called Stardew
how does it
Valley.
differ? Yeah, how would you say
Exactly.
it differs from Harvest Moon?
Was this your first time playing Stardew Valley, or have you played it on another console?
This was my first time. There's no tutorial for like how the controls work, so within a few minutes I had to go online and figure out how to do things, which was a little bit annoying. But once I figured it out, yeah, it's been working good for me. I've been enjoying it.
Cool.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out if Switch has manual information places. I haven't really dug around a whole lot, but
Yeah,
like I
none of
don't know
them
if there, because I
do.
mean, yeah, I mean, so many games nowadays have those little in-game tutorial type things that
All the
usually
games on
explain it all
Switch
to
have
you.
in-game instructions now. There's no like separate manual on the menu or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems
Well,
weird
I didn't
to
notice
play a
that.
game that doesn't have a tutorial anymore.
Yeah.
Or a booklet or something.
Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of which, Koizumi's first work for Nintendo was printed artwork for the manual to Link to the Past.
Well, there you go.
And then he finally got to do some writing on Link's Awakening, and it looks like he's mainly an
They all
artist
start
animator
out.
type.
Yeah, it seems like they all start out as artists over there.
Yeah.
Or janitors.
Miyamoto.
So
yeah,
what
I don't
about?
know. Stardew looks good. It looks okay. I'll wait for a sale, maybe.
I picked it up on Steam a while back as part of a bundle or something, and I have yet to even play it. But it was like, oh, Stardew Valley, that's supposed to be cool. I'll grab that. But it just becomes
It's one of
part
those
of the
indies you've
backlog.
heard of.
Yeah.
And I know that it's one of those things that if it gets you, you're gonna lose a bunch of hours of your life. Like,
Yeah. You get into a routine. Okay, I water my crops, and visit the people, and go to the mine, and do some fishing.
it sounds like real life work. It's like
who's the publisher?
So you can do it all sitting on your ass. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Who's the publisher of Stardew Valley?
Like Concerned Ape, something like that.
What's it called?
Does anyone know for sure?
No, I don't remember.
Did you say Concerned Ape?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you ask all these weird OCD details?
She was
Eric that we never know.
I don't know.
She was talking about you, Eric.
I don't know.
Actually, I think it's made.
But I want to. Speaking of indie games, I want to put a plug for The Fall, which is an indie game on Wii U, which you can't buy it on Switch right now. But I got it for free because it was my friend Jose got it in a bundle.
Yeah.
And so I tried Humble Bundle, and it's a great game. I got hooked. I went through that whole game, and part of the appeal is it has no instruction booklet whatsoever, and there's no in-game instruction either. So you have to figure out how to progress through the game. And I did have to look online to finish it, but it was really good.
It's almost like out of the. It reminded me of that Out of This World game,
very much.
Yeah, where it's just like it throws you into this world, and you kind of have to figure out screen to screen what you're doing. Stardew Valley was developed by Eric Concerned Ape Barone and published by Chucklefish for anyone who wants to know. So there you go. The developer's online name was Concerned Ape. So point goes to Max.
Developer.
No, it's just an indie game. Chucklefish, I think, has got some other stuff out there, but I'm sure that's their big one. It only takes one when you're an indie, you know. You get that wonder. Yeah, you get that one, and you can grow it into other stuff.
Like Minecraft.
Yeah. Well, I saw like Mutant Buds is going to be coming to Switch too. It's going to have Mutant Buds Deluxe, and then there's some sort of Mutant Buds puzzle game that they're adding into it. It's hard, but I thought it was a decent game. Like I never finished it because I'm not that good.
The difficulty is what scared me away from that, playing the demos.
Yeah,
To me,
that's one of those games where the demo sold me on the game.
I mean,
it's
I was
yet
like,
another
this is
8-bit
cool.
side scroller.
oh,
Yeah.
yes, yet another.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like I like those to a point. I got into Blaster Master Zero, and I've downloaded a few others, but I don't know. There's only so many of those that I can take before I'd just rather go back to the old ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The problem is
like,
I download a lot and I never finish a lot. Like,
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I'll put a few hours into it and be like, that was kind of cool, I
And-
guess. Maybe I'll
Right,
keep
you browse
what's
the
the
sales
story? What's the
Sorry, go
storyline
ahead.
to Mutant Buds? What's the storyline to Mutant Buds? Because I mean, I played the demo, and you're just some guy with glasses, right? Who just shoots.
Yeah,
like,
it's
pellets
weird.
of
You're like
nuggets
a
and-
kid and your grandma's involved somehow. Like, I don't know. Like, I think
Oh,
once
wow.
you beat the game, you can play as the grandma. Like, she becomes a playable character. But I don't know if you're going through like her house in another dimension, or I don't know what's going on. It's a cool
Not
looking game.
interesting.
It's cool because it uses the 3D and you can jump in between the foreground and background.
That's true.
And then
Oh,
Kirby,
now all of a
when
sudden
that
you're
came
selling me
out,
on this.
started. And then when Kirby came out, it surprisingly used a very similar mechanic.
Well, wait a minute.
Um,
The first time I ever saw that mechanic used, I would like to point out, was on the Wario Land game on the Virtual Boy, and it was used.
Yeah,
It was a
nobody else saw
mind-blowingly
that.
cool
That's true. I guess I
effect
did have
at
that.
the time.
Yeah,
Nobody else played the Virtual Boy.
that's true.
That's the only game that I ever like. I don't know how many hours I planted my face into that thing for Wario Land, but that was really the only thing that resembled a AAA game on that thing.
When are we
really.
getting the Virtual Boy Mini?
Now, see, I would be all over that, except that, yeah, you'd have to have only like a small child would be able to fit their face in it.
They should. They could do that. Put a cartridge slot on it and be like, "Good luck finding them."
How did the sound work on the Virtual Boy?
I just had speakers near your ears. They worked pretty
just
well.
near
They were
them?
kind of directed. They were kind of directional speakers, so you really, you didn't. It wasn't very loud if you didn't have your face in it. You could still hear it,
Oh,
but it was close enough to your ears that it, you know what I mean? It was almost like headphones, but not quite. So it sounded loud to you,
Directional
but not
speakers. Oh, okay.
particularly loud to people around you.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah, no, it's a
And
neat
people
little
love
unit.
that controller.
It was that controller is the genesis of the GameCube controller, the Virtual Boy controller. Absolutely,
Oh.
it is the same basic general shape. Doesn't have analog sticks, but the triggers and the grip and the whole shape and layout is basically the GameCube controller. Without the funky buttons. Still had just the same square set of buttons like our 3DS has today or whatever.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? Just the comfort, the grip, the way the triggers were placed, just the general shape of it were the GameCube controller, basically. So yeah, it was a very comfortable, very, very nice controller. And then, when the N64 came out, that monstrosity, which wasn't so bad, I guess.
But wait, didn't the Virtual Boy come out after the N64?
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Didn't it come out in 98 or 99? 98?
I don't know. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
That would
that
make more
timeline
sense
blends
from an
because
evolutionary standpoint, but they came out very close to each other, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Mo.
I always get confused with the timeline on the Virtual Boy because it's like I remember playing it in Toys R Us when I was a kid, and I remember myself being younger, but I'm pretty sure Eric's right. It's like it seemed like it was in a weird time, like in between, like it was later
95.
than I remember it being. Yeah.
95, the Virtual Boy came out.
Seriously?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So it came out before N64.
Nope, N64 was 96. It was July 95 and September 96. So yeah, it was
just before.
So I wasn't crazy. I do remember thinking, "Oh, this is a great controller," and then the N64 came out, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Back to indies. Is anybody looking at Axiom Verge? That one's kind of caught my eye, but I
No.
can't bite just yet.
That Conquest buddy of mine is all fired up for it. Wants to pick it up. So I'll give you his opinion. He's an old schooler like us, so he might dig it. Says it looks like I think he said it looked like Contra, right, or something.
Yeah, it's basically like a Metroid style homage type of game. Might be more
successor.
Metroid 1. Yeah, it's like kind of one of those where everyone's like, hey, there's no Metroid on the Switch, but there's Axiom Verge, and I've basically, I don't think so. I think it's just single player. It's going to get a physical release in a few months, but it's out on the eShop right now. And then the physical version will have, a book that you'll never look at.
Again, I jumped on a bunch of the cool 8-bitty stuff when the Switch launched, and it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but I might pick up another one, but it's got to be something really, really big to fire me up.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that they've started doing some indie like physical releases. Like Shovel Knight was the first one that I really remember as far as Nintendo stuff goes, where they're like, we're giving it a physical release now. And then now it seems like there's a couple of them out there. Binding of Isaac's got one.
I wonder how
that weird Viking game is.
You wonder what?
How those sell?
Yeah, how that affects the sales. Because I would think anybody interested in the game would buy digital. I mean, I guess you'd be pretty hardcore if you wanted to buy physical after you've probably the digital version. Yeah,
well, that's the problem. Is like with Shovel Knight, the physical game came out like over a year, I think, after it had been out digitally. So it had all the hype and stuff.
Is there a Switch tax on the cartridge for indie games, or we haven't released any?
A lot of times I'm noticing that the eShop. A lot of companies are keeping the eShop cheaper than the physical one, so there is a Switch tax on the physical cartridge. But
they make a point that the physical cartridges, like Binding of Isaac or whatever, they always are like just the fact that it's a physical release, it's already like a special edition, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and like I said, Axiom Verge I think is $20 on the eShop, and then the physical version is going to be $40. But then they're they're going to whip an art book at you and stuff, and they're adding value.
That you're never going to look at.
As they call it in the business, the BS business, we're adding value by bundling products into your products
that you don't
particularly want. Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of, but I mean, people, if you're a huge fan of the game, maybe that's something you'd be into. But it seems like a pretty limited thing. You making any progress on that Metroid game yet, Z?
I am not. Baby, what can you do?
Probably good.
Baby and being locked
that's not an excuse.
I'm locked in the bedroom with my wife and kid now all the time. So I set up the TV mount. I sent you guys pictures of that. I set up the whole TV mount with the Wii U, the Switch, and I got a Roku box or however you pronounce that.
Yeah.
And so I've just been what little time I have to play around. I've just been like playing around with my electronic setup, and I take the 3DS off the charger all the time and carry it around for a while and think I'm going to play some of this today. And it just never happens. It goes back on the charger at the end of the day.
How come we don't do that segment anymore where we go around and talk about what games we've been playing daily or whatever?
Because
remember we used to have that.
Because those are all drying up. 3DS is drying up.
Oh, that was only the daily.
Away.
Yeah, the daily one. I brought it back a little bit. I think a few weeks ago, the daily maintenance.
But, the daily maintenance.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
What have you been playing? Are you still wrapped up in Metopia? Hitting it hard?
I've been not hard, but been playing it. Sadly, I think I've become a casual gamer because I hardly play anymore. I've been trying to finish House of Cards on Netflix, so that's what I've been.
Yeah. Once you get into those streams of just binge watching stuff, it's hard to do anything else.
Yeah, and I've noticed I haven't completed any game. Well, I completed Metopia in a sense. beaten it, but there's like a post game that you can do too that I'm working on.
Nintendo does that
Oh,
a
man,
lot.
I
Like
played-
with some of the Mario games now, it's like you sort of beat the game, you get the credits, and then there's the extra level stuff that's tacked on at the end.
Yeah, but this is more
That's
of a
usually when I give up.
solid. The Miitopia has more of a solid post game in that there's actually like another area you go to. It's not just like replaying the same stuff and
Yeah.
100%ing it. Yeah, so it's pretty good. And then every now and then I'll play Street Fighter 2 Final
Yeah, I
Challenger.
saw that. You're still
just play it.
playing that.
Yeah, I just play it until I can get somebody to rage quit, and then I'm satisfied and go to sleep.
Are you owning the noobs?
Yeah, only the true noobs, because
Yeah.
I'm like kind of like a mid-level player on that.
I wonder, I haven't like booted up Puyo Tetris or anything in a while, but I'm wondering like how good the online stuff is, like if there's still people playing that all the time, or just new people getting into it, or if it's
I didn't
just a bunch
even-
of people that will kill me. You know.
I didn't even know Puyo Tetris had a online versus mode.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's got. I mean, I played it like day one. I think was the last time I went online, and I actually won a match. And I like posted to Twitter like, I can't believe I won a match. I never went online. And then I played like 2 more and just got killed. And I was like, yep, that's what I expected.
I remember when Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon came out. I didn't really work on the storyline too much because I wanted to play online player while it was still hot. So I just kept playing online player, and then I
Scarescraper?
never. Yeah, Scarescraper, and then I never finished the game. I only like on the second mansion or something. But now I have that guide that I got with gold coins. I still never played the game.
So you're the one.
I'm the one.
The
Yeah.
one person. So
Well, it is spooky Halloween season, so maybe it's time to get back into the Haunted Mansion for October.
the other
were you gonna
indie
say,
we
Z?
haven't brought up yet is because I still want to find out if Jason's game is broken.
Is Golf Story.
Is the golf story, which I'm interested in and may still pick up if I find myself with any time to play anything.
Yeah.
But I'm real curious because apparently there's a game-breaking bug if you save in a specific place, and Jason looked it up, and it's where he saved last.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hitting the links pretty hard on it, and I just made it to a new area, and as Z has pointed out, that's exactly where I saved at, just a few hours ago. I haven't went and looked yet. I may post that on Twitter.
Maybe yeah, I was gonna say just make people go to Twitter for it. You know, some podcasts give away Switches or games or gift cards. We give you a conclusion.
That's right. If you want the full details, you can check out our Twitter.
Okay, so this Golf Story game, it's not the same game that they said they found in the firmware of the Switch, right? That was like Mario Golf, or
That's NES.
Yeah,
Golf.
that was Mario
NES
Golf. This is Golf Story.
That's original, just golf. Nintendo Golf.
Yeah, just regular old golf.
I still own the original cartridge for.
Ooh,
Golf
But
Story.
isn't
really
NES tournament golf really the one to go for? Open
Maybe.
tournament.
But this one I remember.
What were you
playing
gonna say about Golf Story, Jason?
I was going to say Golf Story is a little deeper than basic golf play. There's definitely a lot of story,
Yeah.
a lot of challenges. It's kind of got some RPG elements to it as you complete certain goals. Like basically how the game flows is you start out and then you go do a few challenges. It's kind of open up to you about what challenges you do, and then you're given like an objective. But it might be something really simple like find a person or go find this item or something like that. And then you progress and you eventually get to play the course, and then you go to another place which has a different kind of course and you play there. And it does a good job of teaching you better and better golf habits of like how to play the game better, which is something that's really missing from the early NES golf games. It just kind of throws it at you and you're just kind of trying to figure out how to play. So I think it does it better than Mario Golf. Yeah, I've been
You're
playing
interested in that game, Z? Or I mean, Z said he was too, which I was surprised.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I like For some reason, I've always appreciated a good video golf game.
Yeah, the 3DS one's amazing. The Mario Golf.
Yeah.
What do they call that one? I can't remember.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Postal Tour.
It's
one of those?
it's Mario Golf World Tour. Yeah.
Oh yeah, World Tour.
Yeah, but that one's awesome. But Golf Story's gotten a lot of buzz. I think it's pretty high up in the eShop right now as well. You might be like in the top 3, I think, for best sellers. Surprisingly, Mario Rabbids, I think, is in there as well. That might be the number 2 seller right now. So
that Conquest buddy of mine picked that up and has been playing it with his 10-year-old kid, and they've been going nuts with it.
I've heard good things, man.
Yeah, very positive.
Like like every other game is not really my thing, but for the people that like that kind of strategy type deal, like I've heard really good things. I've heard it's like kind of like XCOM Light. It looks all right. Like everyone's like, thank God Mario was in this, because it would have been completely ignored had it not had Mario.
Yeah,
but yeah, right now as it stands, I'm looking at the best sellers. This is hard to believe. Stardew Valley's number 1, Golf Story's number 2, number 3 is the one I take issue with. It is the Arcade Archives Mario Bros.
Seriously?
And then rounding out the top 5 are Picross, which we haven't even really mentioned, but I know for people who are into that, it's there. And then FIFA is number 5. So
that
what
just
are you
seems
reading
a lot of suckers.
I'm just looking in the bestseller section of the eShop.
Oh.
And then top 10's got Steam World, Overcooked, Sonic Mania, Pokken Tournament, and Axiom Verge.
Pokken.
Minecraft has been pushed out of the top 10.
That one totally flew right by me.
I made sure that I called it Pokken for you guys. Or I don't know if is it out or is it just? Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I know the demo is available.
Must be.
Oh, what's it called? Professor Layton something Millionaires Curse or something is out.
Sounds
Came out
right.
Friday. Yeah, I bought it for my
It is not in
sister
the top 15.
for her for her birthday, but she doesn't. Oh no, for Christmas. But she doesn't want to open it till Christmas. And I told her, like, you're gonna miss out on. They said you can, starting release date, you get a free puzzle to download every day. And she's like, I'll just open it on Christmas. I'm like, all right.
You've bought her Christmas present for this year?
Yeah, I did it early.
That's
Maybe she
hardcore.
could.
She
Maybe
likes Professor Layton.
what's that on? Is that on 3DS?
It's on 3DS. Yep, only on
See
3DS, I think.
What you do is
did they
you
do
open it
Professor?
up. Oh, it'll come eventually. They'll do a collection. Maybe you should just open it up and start.
That's what I
loading it
told
up
her. I
every
told her
day
we could
for her.
open it and then just like, yeah.
Be like, for my gift for you for Christmas is also my curse. I will boot this game up every day and download the daily puzzle for you as part of my maintenance.
Yeah. I went to pick it up. I went to pick it up at Best Buy, and the sales clerk said, "Oh, we have a Koopa Troopa amiibo that didn't get sold. Do you want one?" I was like, yeah, I'll take it because.
Hope your mom doesn't find out.
She didn't. I just put it in with the rest of them. She didn't notice. Yeah.
Wait, there's Koopa amiibos out?
Yeah. I saw that.
I think there's a Goomba as well.
The Goomba one too. Yeah.
I've been in a black hole for the past 2 weeks.
Nintendo's like,
And
what's really basic that we haven't put out yet?
Well, before
what game is that supposed to be in conjunction with? Is that just for
Mario and Luigi Bowser's Minions?
Oh yeah,
Bowser.
Oh yeah, that huge smash hit.
Before I opened it, I looked on eBay to see how much it was going for new in box, and it was just like
that's that
like
amoebaitis.
More, yeah.
You're like, wait a minute.
Couple bucks more, so I was like, forget it. But if you have the Koopa Troopa and the Goomba together, it goes for like 40 something. So I was like,
You know what's funny is I cracked open my Metroid amiibos finally, even though they really do nothing. I waited until I 100%ed the game and then cracked them open. And then the news story came out like a month ago, which I just somehow had missed, that there's a misprint on the back of the Metroid Amiibo 2-pack box, where it says, use these Amiibo figures with Metroid Return of Samus to do the following. And then it tells all the stuff, but the game is Samus Returns, not Return of Samus.
The original was Return of Samus,
Yeah. So it's got the wrong game name on the back of the package. And then I was like, you know what?
So you're gonna have the rare one.
Yeah, but you know what? Who cares? I was never gonna sell it to begin with. That's too cool to give to somebody else. Although I did open it in a way that I could glue it back together and sell it to some hapless noob on eBay. Just tell him it was sealed. Anyone who's going to buy it on eBay wouldn't open it either. But yeah, it's
Wait, but there was an original game called Samus Return. Oh, Return of Samus.
Return of Samus, yeah, and then Samus Returns is a remake of Return of Samus. Basically, the Game Boy.
So it's not even a new game.
Yeah. Well, it basically
it's a
is.
very new. It's a completely new game. It just is.
It's like a reboot.
The basic premise and the bosses. Yeah, it's a pretty full reboot. I mean, I don't know. You think any of the map is the same?
I don't think so. I mean, I think parts of it probably are.
Certain chambers and certain areas, I swear I vaguely remember, because I also played back through. I got it on Virtual Console and 3DS back when it came out, and played back through some of it. And some of those areas do feel really familiar, but I don't.
It's really hard to get through.
The map is really the same.
They did say that this is the largest map of any Metroid game ever, and that was something I felt was. It's weird too, because like some of the levels, you'll get deep into a level, and then there'll only be one Metroid on the whole level, and it's like a huge map, and there's just one Metroid in that world. Like I felt there's a lot of just running around shooting at the usual enemies,
but
not a lot going on.
But little gimmick for now.
Well, speaking of reboots, I've heard that Star Fox Zero was bad, but what was bad about it? Because wasn't it just like pretty much Star Fox 64?
You heard that from Jason.
Yeah,
motion controls were terrible.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor. Get your Wii U out of the closet and download the demo. It should answer any questions you have. Oh
no, wait, I didn't. I guess I just watched their little video that they give you, and actually.
You would have downloaded it, but there were no Nintendo points associated with it.
At some point.
By the way, have you been buying Post cereal?
I bought one box, but I haven't finished it, and you have to like cut the box open to like get the code, and it's like at the bottom. So
I was fully expecting like the box to just have like a hole in it, like where you would cut that out.
Well, first and foremost, there's a bag inside the box. Second of all, don't you have some other container you can pour it into?
No.
Couldn't you lift the bag? You just lift the bag out. You take a picture with your cell phone, and then you put the bag back in.
Yep. It's dark in there. I mean,
you've got a flash on your phone.
Yeah, I could do that.
I mean, use some problem-solving skills, Eric. There's got to be a way to get to that code. You need those 50 points.
I could just go to the grocery store and just cut them all open.
Ooh, there you go. Just take an X-Acto blade with you.
Actually,
like, how come all of these boxes are missing the codes?
I was there, and they didn't have any. So I had to wait until they got some more in before.
Did you ask somebody?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I asked. I was there at near midnight because I work at that.
Oh my god!
I work at that grocery store, and the guy was.
Oh, I was thinking you were there just for the cereal midnight release.
No. And my coworker was like, "Oh yeah, that's all we got." I'm like, "Oh, they're not here. I'll just wait until you get more then."
You're like, "Are you sure?"
Which I thought.
Have you checked? Is there a pallet back there? Yeah, it's 50 My Nintendo points for buying post-brand cereals.
It's 50? I thought it was 500.
Yeah, I thought it was 500 as well.
Oh, is it 500? Oh, well, that changes everything.
I thought I saw 50.
I thought it was 52.
Oh.
I'll have to double check because I took a picture of the box when I saw it in the store just to send it to you guys.
I mean, they're so worthless. If you're actually spending money on it, that makes sense that they would give you 500.
Yeah, maybe. You know, it just says, the outside of the box just says My Nintendo Points. You can earn points inside the box, but I don't know if it says how many. Well, but 1 in 500, or you can win 1 of 500 Nintendo Switches by buying those cereals too. So maybe that's where you.
Maybe that's why I thought it was 500. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm getting it too.
I mean, that'd be like Nintendo giving you 10 wallpapers. I don't think so. For free. Is anybody else? I don't know if anybody else has looked at this. I still will look through the rewards from time to time. They've got a Super NES Classic wallpaper.
Oh, I didn't see
I will say it's the worst looking wallpaper I've seen, and it's a little offensive for some reason.
And
I bet I did. I buy all of them, but I don't actually download any of them.
I never buy the wallpapers, but that's funny that you do.
Yeah, I buy them all, but I don't download. It's just like I'll use my points for like discounts on games, and then I don't actually buy the games.
Oh wow!
Use up my points, but I've still got like 4,000 points. Like,
right?
I'm like, you can literally buy everything and still not run out of these points. Although once Miiverse closes, we're gonna lose some of those extra points, so I'll have to buy some cereal or something.
Right, and the Switch rewards are coming soon still.
That's true. I think it's got to be soon. You would think with Mario coming out that they'd have to start doing some stuff now, like to kind of. I talked about that last week. Like I think they're gonna have to pretty up and such. Although
they'll just throw some more JPEGs out there.
There was some discussion in the news this week about the UI.
That's right.
What about they're gonna upgrade it?
No.
No.
In fact, it almost made me think the opposite.
That's right.
How could it be any more bare bones?
There was some comments come out this week from Bill Trinen and Doug Bowser from Nintendo of America, and one of the things they mentioned was how they have took problems on the Wii U and solved them on the Switch. And one of that is how fast that the Switch actually loads. I think that's what Mo was getting at. I thought the same thing.
Because
there's nothing there.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is like that's something we've been bitching about since the beginning is just how bare bones it looks. And yeah, it's nice that you can like turn it on and everything boots up quick, but like who cares? To look pretty as well. I would be willing to sacrifice a little bit of that boot time. Like especially since the Wii U added that quick boot up, I haven't really had a problem with it.
Yeah, me neither. It wasn't that slow, but I'm actually okay with the bare bones UI. I just wish it had the browser and Netflix and Hulu
stuff to do other than I mean, well, I said last week I think like even with like the 3DS, like I would take even just the ability to scale down like the tiles so that you could fit more on one screen, like on 3DS or.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I mean, just something. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not really folders time yet, just because look how long it took us to get folders on Wii U, for Christ's sake.
Anybody that's been downloading all those Neo Geo games wants a folder, I guess.
That's true. That's true.
I like scrolling.
It must be a ton of people because they keep pumping them out.
Yeah.
They still haven't really announced when the next Nintendo arcade game's coming out. I was wondering about that because Neo Geo stuff seems to pump out every week. So I was wondering if they were going to do that with the Nintendo stuff and just have it start cranking out, but apparently not. I don't know if they've got release dates on any of those other games, but back to Trinen and King Koopa. So yeah, they talked about how they've learned from the Wii U, and that was one of their things. Is apparently we may not have realized this, but one of the things that was holding the Wii U back this whole time was the atrocious load time to boot the system up. not the fact that no one ever took it out of the box and booted it up. So they've solved that by making it super quick.
The other
What was the other big thing he said? I forget what the other
that they now
point
have
was.
a steady flow of games coming out.
Oh yeah, the steady flow of games, because
I'm trying to think
it
of
was holding the Wii U back was the slow release of games, which it was pretty atrocious at times.
Yeah,
and
Splatoon kept you
3DS
going
has
through
been
the
too.
whole
It
thing.
seems like
In the beginning,
it's been better. It's been better than Wii U ever was, but there were droughts for me. For me especially, because I'm picky.
I want to go to his official quote right here, where he said, "We had a glut up front." That was Doug Bowser. I like that terminology. The glut
up front.
Yep.
He's talking about Reggie.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you think about it, Nintendo they really pushed to get a lot of ports ready for launch, right? We had the Mass Effects and the what's the other one that I got?
There was Zombie U, there was Ninja Gaiden, there was Batman Arkham.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when the Wii U launched, it had a ton, and then it was
But as they pointed out, and this is true, how many of those games did any given person buy? One, two, a couple, right? So you didn't.
Well, one of the big deals too, I think, with Wii U is because it seemed like it was fairly early that third parties abandoned it, and then it was basically just Nintendo putting out games. So normally a console has the first party exclusives or whatever, and then there's third parties filling in all those gaps. And Nintendo didn't have any third parties to fill in those gaps. Then it started really embracing the indies, which is why we ended up with so many indie titles on the Wii U, and why they started making such a big deal out of it.
Well, and even though the Wii U was an obvious failure, and the 3DS, I mean, is still just pales in comparison to the DS numbers. You still have somebody like Yacht Club coming out and saying, "Hey, we sold way more copies of our game on Nintendo platforms than anywhere else." Like there's certain companies that did really well. Way Forward, I think, also with the Shantae games and a few others, they did exceptionally well.
Mighty Switch Force,
yes, and even the Wii U, that's right, Mighty Switch Force. They did exceptionally well on even the Wii U. So it's like for a few of those developers, few of those indie devs are married to Nintendo at this point. Like they're like, sure, why not?
That's the thing. When you get into the Steam environment, there's so much in that Steam environment where there's just games and games and games to get lost in. There's thousands of games,
and that's
on Wii U.
Exactly. And I don't know if I thought about bringing this up earlier in the podcast, or I think I just thought about it and didn't actually say it. But yeah, that's a recurring common problem on Steam that Steam itself is constantly reorganizing Steam to address, is the fact that new indie devs are like, how the hell do you get noticed anymore in this kind of environment when there's just millions and millions of games? There's not millions probably, but you know what I mean. There's just an uncountable number of games for any casual browser to look through, and so many of them are either $1 or 50 cents or free, or will go on sale for free, or be part of a humble bundle where you get 8 formerly AAA games for like $5. So it's just. Like I have a backlog on Steam. I think I have over 400 games technically on my Steam account.
Wow.
And a substantial portion of them are games that were at one point, when they were released, AAA titles. Wow. Many of them are very old, but it's like, right, I have I got the entire Tomb Raider collection up until like everything but the most recent one I got for like $10. Every Tomb Raider game released on PC. So it's just like, it's an instant backlog of stuff, but that's why indie devs are like, they can't make any money on Steam anymore. Nobody can. The only people who can make money on Steam are people that either get a huge amount of buzz, like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds or Rocket League, or some there's still the magic bullet that can happen. Yeah. But for the vast majority of people out there, they just can't make a dime.
Yeah. Well, I said there was that. We talked a little bit before the pod that there's this company that made a game called Neurovoider that said that 1 month of their Switch sales have been better than over a year on Steam with their game, and that's really highlights what we're talking about. That it's Nintendo gives a lot more attention to those when it's a smaller environment. Yeah.
It is kind of that seal of quality again. It's like what some of the devs were complaining when Nintendo said, "Well, we only want systems selling indies." And again, it seems like they've opened the floodgates to a lot of crap. But maybe they're just maybe they're trying to appeal to some very. I assume every game that's on there, somebody in some marketing department somewhere has decided this will appeal to this particular demographic. You know.
Yeah, well, part of it too is you have to have some budget titles as well mixed in.
Mm-hmm. True.
So I mean, that's kind of where some of the garbage crap titles come in, I think, as well.
But it's typical for
on that Astro Bears game.
Though. Well, that's the thing is typical for Nintendo platform. How budget is budget, right? It's still way more expensive.
$5. Yeah,
exactly.
More than on any other system. Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Any title on Wii U that's $1 is guaranteed piece of crap.
I have to say, I have to defend. Well, it wasn't originally $1, so never mind. It was on sale for $1. It was
What was it?
Yeah,
it was Aqua TV. It's not even a game. It's just that I got it.
Oh, the bubble, the bubble one.
No, it's not. It's an online aquarium. It's a a video aquarium.
Oh yeah, I bought that too. That's actually not bad. Yeah.
I would mock you, but I bought the. It wasn't my aquarium, but there was a WiiWare game that was like
plenty of fishies.
There was like My Planetarium that was like a star chart for the Wii that basically just had the different constellations and stuff.
That's cheesy, but of practical value. Like I could see myself if I didn't have like a a PC app or something. Like I would. That's something I would have gotten.
Yeah, it was just something to get, and it was kind of cheap.
Z, what's the? You said you bought Aqua TV. That's like a sequel to My Aquarium, or
if it's a sequel to anything, I'm not aware of it. But it's
or is it just the Wii U version?
It's just a virtual aquarium for Wii U. No, I'm sure that there's no like on my Roku box. There's like 20 virtual aquariums. Right, it's something that's like that's a pretty common thing. Like there's been screensavers of fake aquariums for about 30 years, well, pretty much as long as there's been screensavers.
Yeah. Well, switching topics. When the Miiverse ends, do you think they'll kind of end 3DS too, or just keep going just without the no?
Well, don't they have some big titles still on the horizon? They just announced a bunch of stuff. They still got some big stuff coming out for it.
Some kind of Yoshi game, I think, or is that for Switch?
I think that's Switch, but they have another Kirby game coming out, and
Pokemon.
I don't remember what else.
Pokemon what?
Pokemon Ultra.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the new Pokemon Ultras. Yeah.
When does that come out? It's not out already?
It might be.
I think it's in November. I'm not.
Oh, you're right. Okay. No, you're right. It comes out early to mid-November. That's because I remember it's from
Oh yeah, and then some of them's coming out in December too, which I was surprised about. I forget what it was now.
Yeah, we don't care about 3DS anymore.
Now that Metroid's out,
that was the last big one for me.
Yeah.
At least for me. I mean, right? I guess we'll see. But
I would not be surprised at next E3 if they weren't like, "Hey, by the way, here's another big one."
What else is there to do?
A new Star Fox for 3DS.
No, they won't. They won't step in Star Fox for a while.
No. Star Fox Zero for 3DS with motion controls.
Star Fox is going back in the vault for a while.
I hope not, man. I hope I think they're smart enough now that they realize. I've always wondered if they ever realize, that it's the they just made a bad game. Like, because I've always traditionally felt like they just were like, we put out a bad game, that means people don't like that franchise. And if anything should hopefully illustrate that point, it's that Metroid Other M, like people blamed that for years on why we hadn't gotten any new Metroids. And then, if they thought people didn't like Metroid, and then reviving the series with Federation Force, then they were like, wow, people really don't like Metroid now. But
I thought you were saying that the original Star Fox wasn't good. Oh, you're just saying that Star Fox
No, it's good. I think Nintendo just thinks, sometimes when Nintendo puts out a stinker and people say like, oh, that game sucks, I have a feeling that they sometimes take it personally and say, people just don't like Star Fox anymore. Star Fox Zero didn't sell very well.
I thought Star Fox Adventures for Game Boy or GameCube was terrible, but I think Jason likes it.
It's got a cult following. There's certain people love it or hate it, it seems like, but there's a lot of people that really, really liked it.
I thought Star Fox Assault wasn't that bad.
Yep,
that's the DS one, right?
No,
that's the GameCube one as well.
No, a GameCube one is Adventure.
Or was it Wii?
And then
I think it might have been Wii.
Is that Wii?
I can't keep my Star Foxes straight, but I was never a Star Fox fan. Again, Star Fox, I will again point out, to me at the time, Star Fox, right, it was all about the graphics capabilities of the Super Nintendo, which was behind what kind of a basic level PC could do at the time.
It came out at like 10 frames per second.
Yeah, it was slow. It looked terrible, and it's like, hey, I've been playing, even the crappy flight simulators, like the OG PC flight simulators, looked way better than that. It had looked way better than that for years.
But Star Fox had a better
really crappy old PC. Sorry,
I'm pulling for Star Fox too. Well,
I'm pulling for Star Fox. They're just a Breath of the Wild moment away from glory.
I don't know. There's something. I don't know. We'll see. I guess I could never get into like the whole characters and the world. It always felt
no. Well, and that's the thing. I don't really want them to get out and walk around and do stuff.
Yeah,
I want to I just want to fly around in my ship and blow stuff up and have it control well.
The minute they get out of their ship, it's like, what is going on? What game is this?
And then the other thing is, like, the original Star Fox came out of an era of games like Afterburner or the on rails.
Yeah,
like that kind of game's just not really a thing anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Like, it's got to be an open world. Like, but basically, like you said, they need a Breath of the Wild style. They need a Breath of the Wildify Star Fox. They need to give it a wide open environment where it's right. Like, it's kind of
switching to all range mode.
Oh yeah, exactly. And but where you can just leave a planet and go, you know what I mean? Where you have full free range to roam the universe as
they could do it. They could even do it like a GTA thing where you're just flying around a world or from planet to planet, doing different missions on different things.
Exactly.
Or, whatever. But there's
the main storyline, but you have little side missions and whatever. But give the player the freedom to roam the world at their leisure, because that's where they were blowing it with all the previous games. Like Zelda Breath of the Wild comes out and it's a big deal because, hey, Nintendo did an open world game. But come on, guys, like the last two Zelda games, people have said, hey, what's with this linear BS? Like, video games have moved beyond this now. The same thing with Star Fox, right? The little intro part of Star Fox Zero, where you're just kind of out in space flying around the ship and whatever. I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, I thought the whole game was going to be like that, where it was just kind of a wide open area you fly around in. Nope. Right? It's PlayStation era or earlier linear type. It's not, to me, it's that kind of game is outdated. There's no nostalgia for that style of game anymore.
Yeah. I mean, my patience is even a little low for like the Chicken Walker, and especially that weird Wii U camera, the Rob robot that you send in, that basically that's like they just put that in there so you'd have thing to do on the gamepad. It seemed like.
Oh, are you talking about that side game they released with Star Fox Zero
No.
called
No, I thought that was
Star
cool.
Fox Guard? Oh, you liked Guard?
I mean, I didn't really play it, but I'd be fine with it. I mean, that I don't know why they don't put that on the 3DS. I mean, I played the demo; it was fine. I don't mind it. I don't mind it when they do these little filler games like that are just kind of thrown in the world, as we all know it originally a Star Fox game. They just tossed it in there. I don't mind that stuff. But I mean, there's a sequence in Zero where you've got like a little walker chicken robot that they took from Star Fox 2, and then you can deploy, robot chicken, like a little ATST or something. He goes running around, and then he can deploy like a Rob the Robot thing that goes in and like collects coins, and he's like it's like physically tethered to the thing too. I don't know. It's weird. Jason, you said you never did complete Zero?
I don't think I ever finished it. I've played pretty far into it. It's just like each time you.
From what I understand, there's not really a whole lot to it either.
No.
Oh,
I think
that's the same. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, I think they've come to a point they don't know what to do with Star Fox. They're constantly trying to reinvent it, and they don't understand it was never broken.
Yeah, that's you brought that up in the last.
I look forward to Star Fox Racing coming in 2018.
You know that was like an ending to Star Fox Command. Star Fox Racing.
What ending?
Sorry. One of the endings to Star Fox Command was Fox and Falco becoming a racing team.
Oh no!
Yes. What system was that on?
DS.
Yeah.
And now on Wii U, right?
Oh wow.
Because I know one of the Star Fox games got brought to the Wii U.
I'm not sure which one.
I think it was Command.
Don't know.
You can play the adventure
Speaking of games that we didn't. Speaking of games we didn't finish, Momo, you didn't finish Pikmin. Hey Pikmin, because it was too boring, right?
Yeah, it just. I mean, I really wasn't engaged. I want to finish it. Just like it's not a hard game at all. It's just
boring.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like I have to make myself
it's a chore.
do it. Kind of. Yeah, it's just like it's okay. Well, not really. I want to like it because I like Pikmin so much, and it's not a bad game. It's just very slow and boring, and there's like not much skill. It's like Nintendo does a lot of stuff now where they make it so you just have to keep going through their game. Like their replayability is just going through games over and over to collect stupid collectibles. Like, I went the wrong direction last time, so now I have to replay the whole level so that I can get the thing that I didn't get before.
100% it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I
was amazed that you 100%ed Metroid, because you just like kind of played through it. You just skipped a bunch of stuff, right? And then it seemed like from the point where you beat the game to the point where you 100%ed it was really quick.
Yeah, because I basically the first playthrough I kind of slow played it over a week, I think, and then the second playthrough I did it within like 2 days. And the main difference was the second time I played through it, anytime I saw a power up, I just didn't go for it unless it was right there where I could grab it. I didn't try to go for it because I knew that I wouldn't be able to. And then once I had basically gotten to the very final boss in the game, I backtracked through the rest of it. There's like little teleport stations, which is kind of nice. So I just kind of used the teleport stations and went through the whole game collecting the power-ups until I had all of them.
How much time do you think you saved yourself with that? And then on a related note, how much frustration do you think you saved yourself with that?
Definitely saved a lot of frustration. I'm not very quick at it, apparently, because like I said, I beat my first playthrough was like 14 hours, and then I was looking up Samus Returns on YouTube, and it's like, Samus Returns playthrough 2 hours. And I'm like, all right, well, people are already beating this game in 2 hours, and I haven't gotten through it yet.
But I mean, I just saw somebody. Apparently, the world record on the original Metroid is like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I shaved about 3 or 4 hours off of my play time. So my file that's got 100% is about 4 hours less. So
yeah. Oh, wow.
But I also had a little better idea of where I was going, or a little bit, and like what I was supposed to do and how to take out certain bosses. So some of that probably saved me time too, but a lot of it was just skipping stuff that they put in there that I knew that I couldn't get to. And I'll just be like, I'll just come back for whatever. Because most of the game, it feels like you don't really need, but other than the power-ups that you get for your suit, like as far as missile expansions and stuff like that, you don't really need them. Yeah. So like
Yeah,
I
I've
just
had
was
of limited use for missiles, but I haven't dealt with very many Metroids yet.
Well, there aren't very many. I mean, there's the Metroids that are in the game. You'll keep encountering the same ones over and over. There's basically like 4 or 5 types. And,
that's how the original Game Boy one was.
Yeah. So, but I expected that as I went in, like there would be level 1 Metroid, and then as I got a little bit deeper, there'd be like level 2, and I would never see level 1 again. And it would go like that, but it's not like that. Like even in the last world, I think you can still encounter like the very basic level 1 Metroids at certain points in there.
That was kind of not how the second. Well, no, that's not true. Here's what I decided from the playing when I played the original Game Boy one, and I remember this back in the day. It seemed like I did some of them out of order because occasionally it would seem like I'd get a stepped back Metroid, and I figured it just must be one I missed because you could pass kind of by some of them.
Well, this one cuts that out. This is pretty linear in how it goes from thing to thing.
See, that's also what really has been irking me about it from the get-go. Even the original Game Boy one irked me a little bit in that it was still a little bit more linear than the original. Like the original, you really could just go almost anywhere from the get-go. Once you had bombs and ice beam, you could go anywhere basically. A couple things you still needed high jump for, but most places you could fudge your way with like the ice beam and the bombs. So you know what I mean? It was like there was just a lot of freedom in the original game that was lost. And back to the mindset of Breath of the Wild, that the first Zelda game, same thing, was you're just kind of dropped into the world. There's no real explanation except here's your sword. And you can go do anything in any order pretty much with a handful of exceptions. Certain items you got to have to get somewhere. And the original Metroid was the same way, and then everything started becoming a more linear experience after that. I think people got too frustrated if they had too many choices, too much openness. Now that's the thing again, and they're finally getting back to it. So I would really like to see a lot of this, mindset going back into their franchises. Like I hope Super Mario Odyssey has huge ass worlds. I want big areas to roam Mario around in.
I wonder what the file size is. If it's like the same.
I've already said it's
really not that big.
It's pretty compressed. It seems like I don't mind a little linearity in my Metroids. Like I'm okay with being able to kind of be on a straight path and not getting lost. I think, but yeah.
Well, not so much about getting lost. It's like. Right, once you get to know the general area, it's like it becomes comfortable. You know where your home area is that you're passing through, and it's like where the areas are that you haven't quite gotten all of the secrets in yet. You know what I mean? It becomes comfortable after a while. Not that when it's done right, when there's not too much backtracking, but just the right amount. Right.
Well, Super Metroid was like that one was the most non-linear in that if you knew how to do the right wall jumps and bomb, like people do reverse boss fight or reverse order boss fights in that you can fight all the bosses in reverse order in Super Metroid if you know how to do it. And you can skip over some upgrades or get certain upgrades early. But like there's always been a linearity kind of in that you have to get a certain upgrade to get to another area in most of them. And so
true. I mean that was the original premise, but again in the first game, after the first couple upgrades, everything else was kind of gravy. Everything else was kind of bonus stuff. There were only a few basic upgrades that had abilities that you absolutely had to have to get to the end. And everything else was just extra. And I kind of wish, right, there's kind of that mindset is every single piece you get in a Metroid game usually is necessary to get somewhere. Just feels, it's just, you know what I mean? They feels like they've gotten too rigid and too formalized, kind of. And again, I'd really, really, like, to me, the ultimate new Metroid game for the Switch, and I know they won't do it, would be to make it basically take the Breath of the Wild world and turn it into a Metroid world, and that's my Metroid game. Just give me Metroid in that exact same format, and I would be a very happy man.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted since the N64 came out and have not gotten.
But you're getting Prime.
So that would be like an Other M version.
Not so much. I mean, a little bit in that it's the third person kind of 3D style. That's kind of what I want. But what I really want is just you're dropped on a planet. There's just like Breath of the Wild. There's no real dialogue, hardly any story. You're just dropped in this world, and it's right. It's like a survival game. But it's kind of how the original Metroid was, if you think about it. You don't really know much other than your buddies saying, go over here first and get the ball, right? Like the first Metroid game, the fact that you're supposed to go to the left first, that was that was such a big deal. Like, whoa, yeah. You can go, you're supposed to go the other direction. That was such a big secret trick because everybody just started running to the right first because that was just the convention for everything back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, even in the open world games like Breath of the Wild, I think most people still did it in almost the same order, right? You do the plateau. I think the first Divine Beast is usually no.
Well,
no, because
the first one I did
a lot
was
of people did the water one first. Yeah, a lot of people did the water one first. But
they kind of
my second
steer you that way.
playthrough, I made a point to just do them in different order. If you just happen to end up, if you wander around, if you make your way to the bird village first, you can do the bird one first. It's not, pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
different
lax.
people did do them in different order. I did the water one first.
I noticed they steer you towards the water one, but yeah, you can do it.
They seem to steer you towards the water one, and then towards Gerudo, and then towards the bird, and then towards the volcano. I think that seemed to be the order that the story seemed to want me to progress in.
Yeah.
But then when I my second playthrough, I did them totally different.
I think I did Zora, Rito, Gerudo, and then Goron. So I did them slightly different. But yeah, that's cool. I guess we'll find out what Prime has in store for us. I don't even know if I'll play that, just because I've not been a big fan of the Prime series.
Me neither.
Really?
Me neither.
Because I'm an old man.
It's not even that. It's just
So
once it becomes a shooter, to me, it just becomes another shooter. Prime is
different from Other M, or aren't they?
Yeah, Other M tried to marry the two worlds. That was their attempt at trying, because it was like a 2D Metroid when you're walking around, and then when you engage in combat, you would turn the Wiimote on its side, and it would go first person for a second, and then you turn it back sideways.
And the shoulder, wasn't it? Or was it first
I don't know.
No,
it was 2D, like you're walking around. Was it 2D? I don't know. Maybe it was over the shoulder. Anyway, it wasn't great. It was an awkward thing, and it had a lot of cinematics that were, I believe, unskippable.
Yeah, it was like a story game. That's from what I never actually picked it up, but I think
traditionally,
I think T really liked it, if I remember correctly. But I think it's generally panned by. Well, it's another one that people are split on, like Star Fox.
People love to hate
whatever. Some people are real big fans of that particular game, but a lot of people, it seems like the general consensus it was a negative. And on the note of a negative, which is always the focus of our podcast, are we out of topics for the evening, we think?
We've got a few more we can go through if you guys are still Okay.
If you guys are still rolling.
All right, let's roll with it. So,
Nintendo Open Air Podcast, accentuate the negative.
since we're talking about negative, we've got to talk about ARMS, right? ARMS recently
That's
got
true.
the new
or is getting
It's
a new
back.
update.
the new players.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah, just when you thought they'd finally just given it up, right? We see this. Oh, new update
Who are
and new
the
character.
new players?
We don't know. We have a new character, but it's
But they don't say.
no, they don't.
I'm surprised they haven't
like teased.
thrown Mecha Little Mac in there.
They're saving that for Christmas.
Yeah, maybe.
I would if they want, they got to do something to revitalize that because, again, maybe it's doing all right in Japan and maybe that's big enough for them, but I know it's not doing very well over here.
Yeah, I know there's been some cosplay and stuff in Japan, so I think it's been more well received. Like I said, I don't necessarily hate it. I just feel like it was weird to try to get a new IP out there in the time frame that they stuck it in. Like, I feel people would have welcomed it with open arms if it had come out at a different time. I just think there was too much
cheaper. I think it needed to be a $40 or $50 game.
Yeah, it's definitely a quality game though. They've put time and energy into, so I can understand the price tag.
It's part of that steady stream of games, Momo, that they've learned
That's true.
from. Yeah.
I mean, although that stream does seem like it's slowed down a little bit, but now the third parties are going to be able to kind of pick up a little bit of slack here.
Well, and you guys mentioned before about FIFA selling 1% in physical, but at least the numbers that we have. Like that's, I don't know. I worry about third-party support when they see stuff like that. Hopefully, Bethesda knocks it out of the park with Skyrim and Doom, and we're going to need better showing from third-party
and LA
AAAs.
Confidential.
Yeah, which if these come out at a reasonable price, given their old
LA
ports.
Noir.
LA Noir, thank you.
That was a movie.
Yeah. But right, if these come out at a reasonable price, because they're older ports, if these come out at $30 or $40, I might be enticed to pick one up and check it out. If they come out at $60 when they're available for $20 already or less on other platforms, then it's I'm sorry guys, no deal. And then third parties are going to go, what the hell? We can't sell any games on your console. Well, no, you can't sell me old games for full price that I know are a quarter of the price on another console because it came out 2-3 years ago. You can't. It's just, I don't know. I'm just worried that I see the same cycle. I see the same cycle teeing up again. I don't know. We'll just see.
I feel like Capcom set a very dangerous precedent by putting Super Street Fighter 2 on it for $40 because they were talking about how well on the Switch, albeit at a time when there was nothing else out at the time. But people ate that game up. They sold like over 100,000 units, which I never thought they would.
I bought one.
So that's at least going to encourage other publishers to see what they can get away with.
Oh yeah, Street Fighter
Or
was
to dig
40,
dug for $30.
I thought they were gonna like rip us off even more and make it 50 or 60. But yeah, even at 40, it was a ripoff. But
you know what they should have done? They should have made it compatible with the Smash Ryu amiibo.
Oh yeah, they should.
At the very least,
really
for God's sakes.
They don't have any amiibo support on Switch except for
Breath of the Wild,
Splatoon
Mario Kart.
and, Splatoon. Breath of the Wild. What are they? Oh, Mario Kart's just the
some
costumes.
of the indies.
Huh? What do they have on indie?
Yeah, Mario Kart's the costumes.
What?
Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight's. Is that the only
Shovel
one?
Knight is on.
But the Shovel Knight amiibo works on a couple other indie games. Like there's some integration with that. I think. Go ahead, Eric.
And interestingly, on ARMS, it's amiibo free.
Yeah,
that's that.
And it seems like that would have been ripe for amiibos. Like they're cool looking.
And it needs more to it. The game just needs more to do. And if they had some fun amiibo functionality, that would have been totally, something that to flesh that out more.
Yeah.
Gonna have to wait a few more years for when Legs comes out.
Well, they have a they have amiibo for Odyssey, which will probably do useless crap like always, but they do have those.
I just wish those had come out, back before I was married. But sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, since Odyssey has come up again, what did you guys think of the Jump Up Superstar commercial?
I want to hang myself.
It looked like the trailer for La La Land.
Yeah. They should have.
I think they spent a lot of money on it. They're really hyping up.
The only people that I saw. Yeah, when they show people playing the game on the Switch, that's what they're showing is 12-year-olds. I don't like. Do they really think that's their target audience with this game? Like, I don't. Well, kids aren't beating down their parents to buy Switches. Millennials are buying Switches.
Yeah,
we're buying.
I guess they already
Switches.
know that they've got us hooked, so they always try to expand their demographic instead of trying to appeal to us who they already
That's true. They know
Yeah.
we're buying. There's it's kind of like Pokemon. It's like, right, if they told people that there was like, some place in the world where they could get, be the only people to get the next Pokemon game, imagine the millions of people that would all flock to, somewhere in China or India or wherever. They just pick somebody, Antarctica. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people would show up in Antarctica for their exclusive Pokemon game. Like they have that kind of pull. So Mario's got some of that. They know there's enough. They know some of us out there, like me. I will buy every Mario game, every main series, 3D, whatever Mario game, and actually
not Mario Sports Superstar.
No, not Mario Sports Superstar, not Super Mario RPG, but any. And you know what? I'm done with new Super Mario Brothers, and hopefully Nintendo is as well, since Mario Maker came out. But otherwise, any mainline Mario game, right? I've completed and usually just beaten to death.
I never thought of that, but yeah, I guess they are done with the new Super Mario line. Unless they come out with the new Super Mario Brothers 3.
What else can you do that isn't going to be like something that somebody put up on Super Mario Maker already?
That's true.
I mean,
they unless can just port Super Mario Brothers Wii U for Switch.
Yeah, Deluxe. Super Mario Brothers Wii U Deluxe.
Deluxe for Switch. Just make its title have to wrap around a few times on that website.
With Twitter functionality instead of Miiverse.
There you go, Twitter integration.
Twitter integration.
I have to work out some sort of deal with Twitter. They're good for it. Yeah. It was a decent commercial. They're not. Maybe they figured they scared off the kids with such an adult commercial last year for the Switch launch. So this time they're like, hey, let's remind people kids are there.
And we've got to think about the timing of it as well. We're coming up on the holiday season, so they're got to sell it. Hey, parents, your kids want this game.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they're really going all out, like the same way they did with Breath of the Wild. They're going all out with this Mario game. It looks like they're pulling out every the lion. They're pulling out every old reference to every old Mario game, every nostalgia dig that they can get. Right, the Pauline is the singer.
Is there a Tanuki suit?
What lion are you talking about?
The lion that he's riding through the desert or whatever it is, the Sphinx thing. That's from Super Mario Land, right?
Oh, Land. Okay.
Yeah,
that's from the Game Boy, the weird one. Yeah, Super Mario Land on the Game Boy.
Weird one.
It was. The music was completely unlike any Mario music ever. Even the controls, the way Mario moved and
Miyamoto didn't make that one.
Felt unnatural and oddball, really.
Yeah, Miyamoto didn't make that. That was all Gunpei Yokoi, I think.
But it had its charm. Don't get me wrong. It was still a great game, but it just was not. It didn't feel like a Mario game.
It was as good of a Mario game as they could have made at that time for the Game Boy.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, it was the closest you could get to a real Mario game on the Game Boy. Yeah. And then when they came out with the second one, the 6 golden coins or whatever, that was like a real. They'd really figured the Game Boy out at that point. That was a legit Mario game.
Large sprites and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't know if Mario Odyssey is going to get me to play the Switch more than my 3DS though. I think it probably will, but it'll be interesting because it seems like nothing got me to play the Wii U more than my 3DS, and then nothing on the Switch did either yet.
Yeah, I still play my 3DS more right now.
Metroid. Well, you already finished Metroid.
Yeah, but I still do my Pokemon shuffles and my Badge Arcade, and I still pop into Metroid every now and then. Or lately, I've been playing that Pirate Pop. On what?
For what do you pop into Metroid for?
I'll just play around in it. Yeah, I just kind of run around, and I've started a fusion mode, but haven't been playing it too hardcore.
Oh, gotcha.
Which it's basically just a hard mode. So like you get hit once and you're dead. Like it's pretty awful and not enjoyable to me. Those who are hardcore.
I remember I finished what was that 3DS game with Fire Emblem Awakening, and then I was like, I'm gonna go back and do it on like on lunatic difficulty, but I never even started that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, those hard modes are hard.
Life's too short for hard modes. At least once you get to our age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like when you're 14 and you get home from school at 3 and you've just got nothing to do from 3 p.m. until whenever you fall asleep, then sure, go for hard mode.
Well, hard modes are about bragging rights and stuff like that. But at my age, I'm like, just give me normal, easy, normal difficulty.
But not even easy. Like, right? I think the basic difficulty on Metroid is legitimate. It's not as easy as they could have made it. Not Breath of the Wild.
No, I do. Although Breath of the Wild, I mean, at the very beginning, Breath of the Wild.
That's true. Yeah. Well, before you actually get a few hearts and get some armor, that's really, you're right. The beginning of the game really is far and away the most difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
But some games have it's kind of like an impossible mode. Like I remember on Battlefield 1942, they have this mode. I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's basically you get shot once, you get killed, but it's also like the enemies have like mode. Perfect aim too. So
yeah.
Yeah, so it's just impossible. I guess you just see how far you can get before you die, but I don't really see the point in
Battlefield Simulator
playing that.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed with Metroid's difficulty because there were bosses and stuff where you had to replay them multiple times or at least till you have to learn their patterns and know how to avoid stuff. So it was nice.
One subject that I forgot we hadn't touched on yet was the Nintendo World Championships, right? And there's that sequence. Yeah. There was that sequence from Metroid that they had everyone play through, and it was very quickly, painfully obvious who had played the new Metroid and who hadn't, and it seemed like most of them hadn't. If you guys watch that,
that is one of the sequences that I had to replay multiple times on my playthrough.
That was a spoiler too.
Say what? That was kind of a spoiler for me.
For people watching. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little annoyed, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I've seen through it now a few times because
so you know what's coming. It's definitely an exciting sequence to watch. It's like definitely a real set piece. It's a chase scene basically that you're playing through.
Yeah, and it looks. I mean, I'm not playing it. I watched it. I haven't played it yet, but it looks good. You can speak to actually playing through it. But I mean, a lot of people, everyone
died multiple times.
Everybody pretty much at the World Championships. I don't think anybody got it in one shot. I don't remember for sure, but pretty much everybody replayed it a million times, and when they did finally beat it, if they beat it, because some of them didn't, they beat it by just a frigging hair's breadth. Like you don't, you weren't sure until like the thing, falls away whether or not they died, basically.
Yeah. I feel like the game does kind of adjust the speed at which it moves a little bit. Like it has definitely a constant thing, but I think towards the end it makes you feel like you just barely got there.
It intentionally it speeds up right at the end or whatever if you're far enough away.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Clever.
There was that thing where a bunch of devs talked about their little tricks like that they do to make the game a little more exciting. And a lot of people bitched and moaned about it, but it's like, if you didn't notice some of these things occasionally on your own, then you're not paying enough attention, because there's times where you're playing a game and you're like, wait a minute, right? Tricks were like the first shot from a boss from, I don't remember what game, but the first shot from the bosses, any boss in a particular game would always miss you. So once you know that for sure, that they're always going to miss with the first shot, you can take advantage of it. But they never tell anybody that, and nobody ever knows that. Everyone just always assumes they got lucky on the first shot or whatever. Yeah, but
I did not spend a lot of time watching the World Champions. I usually don't. I'm kind of one of those people who's not super into
holding
it.
the baby, so I just couldn't turn it off. Like when Shield, like I said before, when Shield surfing was the first item on the list, I was ready to turn it off, but I was stuck with a baby. So,
it was like Shield surfing, and then Smash Home Run Derby. It's like they're just like, we just want to show you some of these extra features that are in these games. But they did have a bizarre selection of stuff, like from Super Mario Brothers Deluxe for Game Boy, Tetris for Game Boy. Balloon Fight is finally making its debut in the competitive gaming scene. I'm sure we'll see that in some tournament next year.
It was a neat little, they did a good job, a neat little tour of random Nintendo nostalgia history without being too on the nose, right? Some really obviously big titles, but even like Super Mario, it was like, let's pick an oddball, obscure variant of Super Mario.
Jason was saying there was weird picks too, like why are they picking these games, right, Jason?
Yeah, a lot of them are odd choices.
Like the Wii U is finally a thing.
Yeah, they keep saying it's dead, and we're learning from the mistakes. Hey, let's put it in this tournament we're coming up with.
Well, what was Wii U besides Smash?
Smash was in there twice.
Yeah, it's true, but it's
Home
Smash,
Run,
so I'd forgive Smash for being in there, just because it's the
they have to have Smash in there.
Yeah, that's their biggest competitive title ever. But what else was a Wii U title? Anything else? Everything. It was like they opted for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2.
That's Deluxe. Okay, it wasn't.
They opted for the Switch version. If it was available, they always opted for the Switch version, which also is marketing for the Switch.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, the World Championships is marketing for Nintendo. It's a Nintendo commercial disguised as something else, kind of like the movie The Wizard was.
Of course, but if it's done well enough, it's also fan service. Right.
Yeah, and I think they did a decent job. I don't know that Super Mario Deluxe is going to spike in sales on the 3DS eShop, but
no, but it's just fun for people like us. It was just kind of fun to see an event around some of these oddball games that we all remember. That a lot of people out there are like, "What the." Balloon Fight.
It's a way to introduce some old properties.
Yeah,
somebody out there saw Balloon Fight and was like, "That looks cool," and they're going to mistakenly purchase it.
No, I'm sure what's going to happen. I'm sure there is a modern, updated version of Balloon Fight for Switch that they're prepping.
It's not just a port.
Or maybe just the arcade. It's the
Balloon Fight Deluxe.
Yeah.
Balloon Fight HD Deluxe.
No. Yeah.
If all of these versus titles, these versus arcade titles that have 2-player modes, if all of them are online playable against friends or random, or co-op or against friends and random strangers, That's going to be a big selling point. If every one of the original NES and Super NES 2-player games, original Contra, all this stuff are on the eShop, and you can play them either just pair up with a random stranger or pair up with a friend, that's going to be huge.
Yeah. It's interesting that they realize that people might want to play some of those games online co-op, but they don't want to play Mario Party online co-op. But we've been through that. But yeah, I think that's about everything we had. Oh, breaking news! Splatoon has got another update, so check it out.
That's right. Splatfest this weekend.
Yeah, there's some buffs, there's some nerfs, there's some vampires, there's some werewolves.
You guys all picked vampires, and I almost want to pick werewolves just because I don't think I'm going to have time to play with you, and it'll get me like one extra sea snail if I'm on the winning side and don't actually play.
One extra.
Yeah.
By the way, what is up with the American version or North American version rather, of Splatfest being a week later?
Well, it's kind of interesting that it's Halloween themed and it's happening on Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's why Friday the 13th.
That's maybe they did that on purpose just because it's Friday the 13th, and that's a big deal here.
Or maybe they were afraid that having all the Splatfests on the same day was really stressing their servers too much.
Maybe.
That's more likely.
You know,
I thought that was broken up by region, but I could be wrong.
It might be. Who knows what kind of infrastructure they really have.
They probably needed an extra week to hire people to filter out all the penises from the drawings in the platform.
I can't wait to see the furry werewolf penises that we're gonna.
Have you seen anything? Have you seen anything good like that on the final days of Miiverse, Mo?
Not yet. It's still coming though. I'm sure that last night, like somebody should just live Twitch stream Miiverse last night. Just be like checking in. Like each community should just have its own Twitch stream. It's gonna be something.
I saw Momo get slapped with a notification. On me.
Yeah, somebody had a picture of Bowser like in the Smash community with a big old O face, and I just put when she lets you smash it, and somebody thought that was sexually suggestive, so they gave me a strike, but that's all right. I still got a few more strikes before I'm banned, I think. Either way, even if you get blocked, you can still play spectator mode on Miiverse.
Oh yeah, true. I had a lot of strikes, but they were spread out over years, so I guess it was like a period.
I don't remember if I've ever actually had a ban. I think I did have one ban one time, and
Me too.
I got six strikes like within an hour. That somebody was just going through my old posts and going after me. But other than that, I just get them sporadically now.
As long as it's sporadic, they don't ban you.
And as long as it's not too raunchy.
Extreme,
you stay under the radar,
For the most part, you don't make a post with it. You just comment something kind of weird on somebody's post from months ago. But we'll see. The end of Miiverse is coming up, and I expect it to be a spectacle.
Did your Shantae ham stink post get struck?
I don't think so. I forgot about that post. I'll just see if I can dig that one up.
What was it Shantae got the ham stink, and you're like, oh, Shantae's become a woman.
Oh, Miiverse, how I love thee. I used to like to really just kind of find the line on Miiverse of what I could and couldn't say. But yeah, there's a Enchante when she finds the ham stink. I feel that she truly did become a woman.
Well, sometimes you can't even say hacker on Miiverse. You have to say, oh, you're quote unquote a cheater.
Yeah, but why would you want to? I mean, I see so many, especially like in Splatoon and stuff. Like I'll see all these posts that are in Miiverse where it's just like, "This guy's a hacker. This guy's a hacker." I used to see that in Sub Wars too, and it's like I don't know how. I can't imagine there's that many hackers out there versus just
Right.
people who are beating up 11-year-olds, and the 11-year-olds can't figure out that maybe they just need to get good. So it's easier to just be like, it's a hacker.
The only time I bring up hacking, well, it's not really hacking, but somehow people they post on like in-game posts when there's no way to do in-game posts. I don't know how they do it, but they get on there, and then that's when I try to bring it up, but got a notification for it, and that's when I found out you can't say the word hack even, not hacker, but just hack. But yeah, they have a lot of
I'm
words.
gonna try
you
that
can't
now.
say
I'll
on
be
there.
like, this game makes me hack up along.
I was going to say, I would play this game if I didn't have a hacking cough.
Yeah.
Or like playing the Phoenix Wright game. There's a character named Dick something, and then of course, you can't say his name either.
His last name goes in you.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to find my Shantae, but man, I bet that was so long ago.
Wasn't there a NASCAR driver named Dick Trickle that recently passed away?
Dick Trickle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
there's some
quite a name to have when you're going through high school.
There's somebody in the NCAA. Last name is Person, which is kind of weird. Like
there was some there was like some NBA. There was a Chuck Person and a Wesley Person.
Yeah, that was it. That was the guy, Chuck Person.
Yeah, wait. He used to play he played for the Phoenix Suns for a little bit back in the day. Anyway, now we're way off topic.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Game over, man.
Once we get into the NBA and we're not even talking about the NBA 2K, I think
Nintendo
we
got an
welcome.
update, didn't it?
Yeah, it did get a patch. I haven't read a whole lot about what's really fixed and what's not, but I know that they did attempt to patch some of the awfulness out of it. They still can't patch out all the microtransaction awfulness though that's in that game, where you're paying money for haircuts and slam dunks and stuff
For
like that. But
you
yeah,
mean
like for
hairstyles?
like a hairstyle for your custom characters and things like that. But I mean, that's just the world of gaming these days. Unfortunately, it just hasn't ever been thrust on Nintendo gamers before.
Maybe you have to pay for a face. Oh wait, that's on FIFA. Huh?
Well, like I say, if you look in the eShop, well, one of the things I remember seeing that they said about this update was that I guess it said something about when you use a camera. I don't remember what it was. There was some sort of create a player thing where it mentioned like using a camera, but the Wii U doesn't, or the Switch doesn't have a camera. So I don't know how it did it, but it said it would like remove your facial hair. So maybe it's something in the game, like maybe it's when you're doing a replay or something. It did something where it like removed your facial hair, and they patched it so your facial hair stays. It's like it seemed to be some weird thing. There's all kinds of weird glitches in there, but there always are, and I'm sure very few people ever see the things that they're actually patching. I don't know. The widespread issue to me is that if you go to the eShop, there's a $60 version, a $100 version, and a $150 version of the game.
Do the various DLC.
Yeah, but that's just the way video games are these days, and I have a feeling that's gonna keep continuing. Anyway,
Definitely.
Anybody else got any goods for the evening?
I'm just grateful that they haven't released an Animal Crossing app yet, so counting my blessings.
I fully expect that next year.
A lot of people are gonna like that.
Yeah, I think that app's gonna come, and they're gonna do the game probably at the same time.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that too.
Wait, you mean the app and then plus the game on Switch?
Yeah, I would think so.
There has to be connectivity.
And it'll probably be really awful where there'll be like exclusive furniture and stuff that you can only get if you
pay for it.
No, that you can only get if you like play the app and play it. I mean, as time consuming as Animal Crossing is, can you imagine having to play 2 Animal Crossing games at the same time?
Oh no.
I've done that.
By the way, I did find my Shantae post, and it has not been struck. Oh
Glad
my
to hear.
lord. And Eric has a comment on it that says, next she'll be getting the tuna stink. Oh, that was from 2015. Classic.
Well, you found that fast.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna scroll up.
that one.
Get back there.
that's so great.
What'd you say, Max?
I said he better screenshot that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna lose that
screenshot
comment. I'll make sure I do that. Maybe we can get that. We can get that one up on Twitter. Oh Lord! All right, ladies and gents.
Yep, it's time to wrap it up tonight. So thank you for sticking with us through this extra long podcast.
Don't forget to check Twitter to see if Jason got to keep his save point in Golf Story.
That's right. Yeah, be sure to check us out on Twitter. You never know when there will be an interesting story to check out. And of course, you can always see us on iTunes and Stitcher and here on YouTube. As always, we love to hear from our fans, so if you got some comments, throw them at us. We might even answer some questions on the air.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yep. So have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Night, everybody.
Night.
Bye now.
Good night.
Good night.